At 75, Suzi Quatro finally speaks up about Chris Norman. Suzi Quatro was born Susan K. Quatro on June 3, 1950, in Detroit, Michigan. From the earliest stages of her life, she showed a remarkable natural talent for music, a gift that would eventually transform her into a household name across the world. Unlike many female performers of her era, Suzi didn't simply become a singer fronting a band. She broke barriers by carving out her place as a bass-playing, leather-clad rock icon in an industry dominated by men. She became a pioneer both musically and culturally, and her legacy continues to inspire new generations of musicians. Raised in a musically inclined family, Suzi was surrounded by rhythm, harmony, and creative expression from the beginning. Her father, Art Quatro, was a musician, and music was constantly present in her household. This atmosphere of artistic encouragement gave her the confidence to explore her own voice and her own place in the world of sound. By her teens, she was deep into performing, creating an all-girl garage rock band with her sisters entitled The Pleasure Seekers. This band was groundbreaking in itself, since it was among the first all-female rock bands to attract attention at a time when women seldom, if ever, were allowed to participate as instrumentalists. Suzi played bass, sang, and was charismatic even then, planting the seeds of the eccentric style that would soon make her a standout on stages worldwide. Life and career took a dramatic turn in the early 1970s when she was discovered by the legendary British record producer Mickie Most, who saw in Suzi that spark of originality which could be transformed into fame. She moved to the United Kingdom, a bold move that was to prove to be the defining choice of her career. While many American audiences were still hesitant to accept women in hard rock, the UK welcomed her with open arms. In 1973, Suzi burst into the public consciousness with her smash hit single Can the Can, a driving rock anthem that reached #1 in the UK charts and went on to sell more than 2 million copies worldwide. It was an immediate statement. Suzi was here to stay, and the song consolidated her standing as a fearless rocker who could command the stage. Throughout the 1970s, Suzi Quatro established herself as one of the dominant female figures in rock music. Songs such as 48 Crash, Devilgate Drive, and The Wild One became major international hits, displaying her trademark powerful vocals, punchy bass lines, and rebellious attitude. On stage, clad in her trademark leather jumpsuit, she projected an image of strength, confidence, and independence that challenged stereotypes of women in music. Unsatisfied with being the background figure or somebody's oddity, Suzi wanted to be taken seriously as a musician, and she earned it, opening doors for scores of women who would follow her onto the rock and punk scenes. Hers was a true pioneering act. Besides her musical career, Suzi proved to be a versatile performer by taking up acting as well. She would become known to American television viewers in the mid-1970s for the role of Leather Tuscadero on the popular sitcom Happy Days. This gave her wider exposure in the U.S. and allowed her to reveal her charisma in a new medium without betraying her rock and roll roots. Her crossover success proved she was more than a singer, but an entertainer with multidimensional talents. Her contributions to music have not only been about chart success, but about influence. Suzi Quatro has been cited as a direct influence for the later female rockers Joan Jett, Chrissie Hynde, Debbie Harry, and the Runaways. These performers have spoken candidly of how Suzi's courage and style gave them permission and confidence to pursue their careers in genres conventionally dominated by males. Even as the decades have gone by, Suzi Quatro has never slowed down. She continued to tour well into the 21st century and record and perform music, proving her passion for it is as strong as ever. In albums such as Back to the Drive 2006 and No Control 2019, she still produced dynamic, energetic music that resonated with her fans. Her stage presence remains electric, and her voice still carries that same power and edge that first captivated audiences in the 1970s. In later chapters of her remarkable career, Suzi Quatro once again proved that her passion for rock and roll and her ability to connect with audiences have not only remained intact, but grown strong. She took up a new medium to share her love of rock and roll with listeners across the United Kingdom and further afield. Taking to the airwaves on BBC Radio 2, Quatro brought trademark charisma, an encyclopedic knowledge of rock history, and personal stories from decades in the industry to a whole new audience. Her first venture into radio, Rocking with Suzi Q, was more than a radio show. It was a celebration of the music that shaped generations. Building on that success, she would later debut another show entitled Wake Up Little Suzi, with the same energy and authenticity, but offering another take on her love of the genre. These have since become staple shows for the radio station, and hearing Quatro's voice as a singer, teller, guide, and promoter of the music that inspires her is pure joy. At the height of her career in 1976, Suzi Quatro married her guitarist and longtime collaborator Len Tuckey. It was a marriage as much based on personal and professional compatibility, with an understanding of what the rock world dictated. They had built a family together, with 2 children while juggling motherhood and international fame, a challenge that was met by Suzi with typical poise and strong will. In 1992, after 16 years of being married, the duo divorced to close a vital chapter in her life. Quatro continued to stay with her children in their Essex manor, which remained a symbol of stability and home for her through it all. In 1993, she remarried, this time to German concert promoter Rainer Haas. His understanding of the music business provided support and companionship as she continued to thrive as an international icon. Even as family dynamics changed throughout the years, Quatro remained deeply connected to her residences in Essex, Hamburg, and Detroit, the city where it all began. At 75 years old, Suzi Quatro has lived through 5 decades in the spotlight, carving out her legacy as one of the first women to truly break into the male-dominated world of rock and roll. Known for her leather jumpsuits, thunderous bass lines, and unrelenting energy, one chapter of her career still shines brightest: her collaboration with Chris Norman of the band Smokey. Fans have long speculated about their bond following the 1978 worldwide hit, Duet Stumblin In. Now, with age and reflection, Quatro has finally spoken candidly about what Norman meant to her, both personally and professionally. Chris was, without question, one of the easiest people I ever worked with, she explained. There was no ego with him. That's rare, especially when 2 people are thrown together for a duet that neither of them expected to become such a phenomenon. From the first moment we started singing, there was a natural chemistry. It was almost effortless. At the time, Quatro was an established solo star, and Norman was having success with Smokey. When producer Mike Chapman paired them for Stumblin In, neither expected a global hit. We thought it might be a minor success if we were lucky, she said. Neither of us expected it to go to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in America and still be sung 45 years later. This was not just a commercial triumph, but a personal joy. Chris had this warmth about him, Quatro said. He wasn't just a great singer, he was a gentleman. I was used to being in control of my music, but with Chris, it felt natural to share the spotlight. We weren't competing, we were creating something together, and that's why it worked. Though many have speculated whether the chemistry between them reached beyond music, Suzi insists the connection was platonic. People love to imagine romances behind the scenes, she laughed. The truth is, we adored each other, but it was about the music. We were both married at the time and respected that. What we had was a friendship and a musical partnership that created something timeless, and honestly, that's even more special. Quatro acknowledges today that Stumblin In is part of her legacy. I'll always be the leather-clad rocker with the bass guitar, she reflected. But for millions, I'll also always be the voice on that duet with Chris, and I'm proud of that. It showed another side of me, softer, more vulnerable, but still strong. Even today, Quatro and Norman remain friends, occasionally reuniting for interviews and celebrations of their hit. When we see each other now, it's like no time has passed.